You know, people say, well, how could one little guy do all that work? And I ask myself that too. I get up on the mountain to look at it. I say, how did I do all that?
A man, a mad project, an unshakable determination, and a path beset with obstacles, even tragedies. This is the story of Jim Bishop, the undisputed king of the castle he built in the heart of Colorado against all odds. A few hours south of Denver, nestled in the San Isabel National Forest and dominated by the majestic wet mountains, Custer County and its many valleys is home to vast ranches and picturesque villages. It is an area of unmatched natural beauty and tranquility. Nestled in a plain once rich in gold and silver deposits, the small town of Westcliffe was born of prospectors' hopes and dreams. But in this western setting, 45 kilometers or 28 miles southeast of Westcliffe, an unusual structure harkens back to the Middle Ages.
I am Jim Bishop, the castle builder. I've been doing this project for 45 years this year. I grew up in Pueblo, Colorado, my mother's hometown. So I grew up in Colorado in this local area.
Jim's father owned a local ironworks shop, and he grew up learning his father's trade. One day, while riding his bike, he came across a plot of land for sale and convinced his parents to buy it in his name, provided he pay for it.
I bought this land when I was 15 years old, 55 years ago in 1959. So this project here did not start as a castle. My dad and I, Willard Bishop, we did 10 years of groundwork, digging a road in here, wheelbarrow and shovel. It was all timber, the highway was gravel. And as poor people, we couldn't afford any equipment. So we dug through the trees, and then we assembled a little metal building.
Some of us are driven to achieve a greatness. Maybe I don't even think he knew it in the beginning.
And I started in 1969 with the walls of a one-room stone cottage. It's right underneath there. It's still part of this castle. The very first rock of Bishop Castle, right here. By Jim Bishop. Myself, these two hands, this rock, this concrete, the very oldest part, right here.
It's hard to wrap it around your head to see this place that one man has built.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
This would be the first, the one-room stone cottage right here. And I started in that summer of '69. Then my dad thought he wanted to be part of it. So this is his work right here, up to the third level only. I've even got a sign on this water tank tower here about how that I started, but this was my father's part. But everything else, just these two hands. And local people, farmers, hunters, ranchers, fishermen, said the rock work, the stonework looked like a castle. I was inspired by that, and that's how the idea started.
Bishop's Castle is the story of one man's 45-year devotion to realizing his dream of building a 45,000-ton castle, stone by stone, in the middle of nowhere. But that hasn't stopped everyone from talking about it. Jim is very attached to his neck of the woods and the mountains of Colorado. As a boy growing up in the city of Pueblo, he could see the mountains and spent every opportunity hiking them or taking comfort in the tranquility they offered. It was here that he escaped life's responsibilities and found peace of mind.
Oh, I love the mountains. The mountains are nice, the mountains are clean. I'm in a vacation spot, the world's coming to me. I don't have to vacate my life, I'm satisfied with it. So that's why I'm in the mountains with the castle. And in Europe, where do you find the castles? In Bavaria, in the Alps, in the Pyrenees? You know, that's where the castles are at.
As a teenager, Jim dropped out of school to become a welder like his father. Ever since then, it is in working that he finds his equilibrium. In 1967, he met his wife Phoebe, the one person who has been there step by foolish step since the beginning.
I have always considered Jim to be a genius. And he has got so much talent. It's mind-boggling how much talent he has. And it just turned out that I was the perfect combination for calming him down. I'm about the only one who can tell him the way it is and he'll shut up. I make it possible for him to do what he wants. Take care of the paperwork. In the beginning at the castle, I took care of the paperwork, took care of the cooking, took care of the cleaning, took care of the people when they started to come, created the gift shop to try to make an income while we were there.
In the beginning, Jim and his family lived on site, the same hard life of long hours and hard work that faced the early American pioneers.
My father's Jim Bishop has been building Bishop Castle since 4 years more than I've been alive. So this has always been a part of life. The idea of a castle, from my understanding, started in '73. So the building of a castle started the same year I was born. But heck, for a kid, that was absolutely spectacular, you know, running around in the woods all the time. So it was just a kid's life. The worst part about living up there is the isolation.
Jim and I had always said that we thought we were born 100 years too late because we could, you know, we were capable. I did my own hunting. I skinned my own meat. I had to pull water out of a 30-foot deep well, and then I kept my food supplies in a bucket that I put back down in the well, and that was my refrigerator because it was cold down by the water. We had a little tin shed made out of wash machine sides. His father was a tin metal smith, and he built a shed out of Maytag wash machine sides. So while Jimmy was working on what we called a castle, I started building an addition to the tin shed out of logs from a 67-year-old log cabin just down the road a ways that was falling down from disrepair. It was a way of living that I loved. I lived up there 8 years year-round.
These years of hard work and sacrifice birthed this unusual building, 2,700 meters or 8,900 feet above sea level, whose highest tower reaches an astonishing 50 meters or 164 feet in height.
Over the years in constructing this castle, I started out with just flat walls, and then I decided when people called it a castle, castles have arches. So I built a form, I dig into bedrock by hand, and I started building arches, and they were successful. So here's the first arch right here. And this is the longest spanning arch up here and the first one.
I just think he just had enough fire in him as a young man to start it, and then it started to really consume him, not in a bad way, but so far as the whole concept started to really blossom and vision came.
In progressing building the castle, these pillars here to start the square tower was probably next. After that part there and these walls here. And then over the years, I'd work a little on that side, on this side, and build a square tower, the other walls, the arches, the buttresses. The main reason I did the buttresses, which is these things right here, as I was building the square tower, I was nervous about all these heavy walls, maybe, even though it was on bedrock, maybe tumbling outward with wind or something, or an earthquake or something like that. So these are the what I call flying buttresses, fixed triangles. And then I thought about the elevator for the elderly and handicap over the years. As it comes up, it'll mesh right here, and there'll be a gate here and a gate there. And it'll be for the elderly and handicapped. There'll be a little station down there where people can get out and put wheelchairs on that thing It'll come right up here, and it works right now. But it ain't, I need to do some more work on it because it ain't public ready. There's a fireplace right below us shaped like the Eiffel Tower. You know, thinking about things I've seen in National Geographic. Eiffel Tower shaped fireplace. And as I was building that, I was on crutches. I had an accident in Pueblo, and my wife Phoebe was handing me tools and stuff right up in here. And then I was using old barn wood from a place over here for scaffolding boards and stuff. Then I decided I need my own sawmill, so I built a sawmill. And it's just, over the years, it's just one, you know, I start out a little bit on this side, a little bit on that side, a tower here, a tower there, and I balance it all out.
He's self-made. That's all there is to it. I mean, he's the guy of determination, and he's going to do what he sets his mind to. And for that reason, it's he kind of motivated himself to get going, and that's what he's ever done. As far as I know, Jim has never done anything except work at the Wrought Iron shop that they own and build a castle.
Fiercely independent, Jim has done all the work on the castle himself, from cutting down the trees for timber to shaping the iron rails that support the castle's arches and even erecting the scaffolding. The ironwork is done in his workshop in Pueblo, but all of the castle's stones were collected from land surrounding the San Isabel National Forest.
All of this rock comes off of public land within 10 miles of here. I'm cleaning along the road ditches. Creek beds, rock slides on the National Forest that slides down when there's rain and erosion. And I take a pickup truck, and by hand I pick it up, throw it in there, haul it in here, and use it up. And then the cement comes from donation money. So does the steel out of my wrought iron shop in Pueblo. And then some materials are donated, like tools and different things that somebody else's junk that I can use. So it's just all recycled stuff and old stuff, but very little new material.
Whenever you have to haul your own material, whenever you have to mix your own cement, there's no modern equipment that he uses whatsoever. It's all, what you might say, it's all man-made, it's all handmade. He's his own architect, and he's done everything that's here, you know, from the ground up.
Oh, I consider what I do, like this castle, every much an art form as a building. Because there are no blueprints, no drawings, I just do it. And instead of chiseling away like sculpting, I'm adding, I'm building.
Not surprisingly, Jim never led the carefree life of a castle dweller. His determination and commitment to his vision has often gotten him in serious trouble. His refusal to pay property taxes, for example, or submit to building codes threatened to put an end to his dream.
I totally, firmly, 100% believe that without me, the castle would not be there today.
In the early years, collecting rock was a little bit of a problem. The government wanted me to have a permit. And I told them, I says, send me a bill. If I think it's reasonable, I'll pay it. They said, it don't work that way. You got to come to the office, you got to apply. There'll be time limits, amount limits, and all that. So I just kept hauling rock. And they says, well, you can haul a little bit of rock for your own use, but you just can't keep hauling this rock. What are you building? I says, I'm building a castle.
And so then they come to us and told us that they'd come up with this zoning plan and that we could only build like 46 feet high or something like that. The castle's already 160 feet high, and my house is over 46. I said, well, what are we supposed to do? Knock it all down and start all over again? Because we'd already, 12 years, it was already over 46 feet high.
There's people that they don't like things to change. This, even though the concept goes back like hundreds of years, I mean, thousands probably, a castle, okay? This was new to them.
And then they told us, we need you to put on a plan of what you're going to do here. And I said, well, we planned this and this and this, you know, over the duration of probably 100 years, hopefully to have all this done. They said, well, put it on paper. So we did. We drew everything in that we could possibly dream of and put a height to it. So we're grandfathered in. Yeah, they got a record of it somewhere.
And they always talk about it as a resource. Well, if you're not allowed to use it as a resource, now what's really the point? Is it really our forest? And that was what Jim proved, is that it is our national forest. And now he says, all of what I've taken is all for you too.
I'm glad that he was able to, at one point, set up the nonprofit so that he could get donations, because it's free tourist attraction.
My wife Phoebe's got her handprint up in this stone roof truss the year that she got the tax exempt status, which I think was 86. 1986, the IRS agreed to grant a tax exempt status after 8 years of paperwork.
Open to all free of charge, Bishop's Castle owes its survival to donations, a commitment dear to Jim as a matter of principle.
There was probably a time when I thought, man, we could be rich if we had only charged. But where I sit today, I understand the idea that the freedom we get by not charging people, the just really what the castle is all about, and why he's built it, why he keeps building it and everything, it's, you know, it wouldn't work to charge.
I don't consider anybody owning anything like owning a castle. When you die, you can't take nothing with you. And ownership entitlement is a white man European invention. The native peoples all over the world, like the Native Americans, they say we're supposed to be caretakers of the land. They didn't know the concept of ownership. And I don't need to own anything. When you know, I don't believe in it. That's why the place is free. The rocks come off of public land. The rocks belong to everybody. And I don't really believe in ownership.
During his conflicts with the various authorities and committees that tried to halt construction of his castle, Jim became known for his political activism.
My dad is very out there today when it comes to politics and all that stuff. And I remember a time when he wasn't like that, when he was real quiet, and you know that trying to take away his freedom to do something that isn't hurting anything has really created who he is today. You know, I think he's more driven to complain about the government than he is to build castles.
Nobody can say anything bad about this castle. I'm not hurting nobody. I might insult somebody, but I'm not physically hurting anybody. I think people are very impressed with the castle itself and with me, and I talk with everybody, and my idea about politics. They say that I impress them more than even the castle, and the castle impresses them a lot.
Bishop's Castle is set off the beaten track, but it's easy to find all the same. Located about 21 kilometers or 13 miles from the junction of Highways 95 and 165 in Colorado, on the historic road called Frontier Pathways, it is a popular stop for hikers and outdoor enthusiasts.
People are visiting Custer County and this part of Colorado because of the beautiful mountains, the Sangre de Cristo mountain range, Lake Deweese, hunting, fishing, and Bishop Castle.
The surrounding environment inspired the aesthetic of Bishop's Castle. The scale of the San Isabel National Forest, the simplicity of the wet mountains, and the picturesque beauty of the nearest town, Westcliffe, all find their artistic counterpoints in the castle's design.
Westcliffe is a very quiet town, very conservative people. I think with the fast pace of life these days, people enjoy coming here just for the quiet and the calm and serenity. just sort of kick back and do away with electronics and enjoy life.
There's a lot of things to do up in these mountains. It's beautiful mountains. Also, it depends on the year, what there is to do. A lot of people come up to these mountains during the fall because the aspens, they change colors. And that's really something to see. It's really, really beautiful. And then there's Lake Isabel, which is really beautiful. It's just a really scenic view to go and have a picnic or camp out. But honestly, I think it's more like a means of getting away. You know what I mean? It's a destination to go to, sure, but it's also the drive. It's really like the scenic small towns, mountain towns of Colorado.
So we do have ranching still somewhat in Custer County. People can go out there and stay and know and actually live it for a couple days, you know, what it is to go out and bring the cows in and ride horses. So, yeah, that is still rich history here. We have a lot of artists here. We have art galleries, several of them. There's the Brookwood Gallery. There's a Sangre de Cristo Gallery, Rock Shop.
Is there an artist community here? Somewhat. There's a number of, professional, if you would. I don't like the phrase, but there are artists here. Jim Bishop is one of them. I just recognize what he's doing as art. It really doesn't fit anything. The closest people that I can relate him to are Hunter Wasser. He's a Germanic and was very creative, marvelous buildings that he developed in Austria, Vienna, places like that, and or Gaudi, and that is not on the size or the mass of the artwork, but simply the spirit of it. It's one man dedicating his life to one particular project. Anybody that knows Gaudi's work knows that he did some other things too, but he's known for the big cathedral in Barcelona, hardly on a scale similar to Bishop's, but the spirit of the man is what I compare it to.
How did I learn all this? Is mostly through trial and error. Just do it. A lot of trial, very little error. I didn't do any research on castles. If you want to call it research, all I did was look at pictures in National Geographic magazine. You know, like the cathedrals of Europe, Notre Dame in Reims, Notre Dame in Paris, and flying buttresses and all that stuff. Just through looking at pictures mostly.
Truly amazing people, truly people that really change things, really inspire you, are not the average. They are not normal. And if they were, they wouldn't do it.
You can hear the people say, awesome, amazing, I can't believe it. I mean, every day they come out here. I see the scruffies, you know, with smiles on their faces here. You know, I mean, all kinds of people, the kids love it. You know, it is an amazing, you know, piece of work that he's done.
Begun in 1969, construction of Bishop's Castle continued well into the 90s and 2000s with the construction of the Iron Bridge and the geodesic dome. Even today, at 70 years old, Jim Bishop continues his project with the same incredible determination.
I have seen him work on just one rock, and every stone, every rock is an engineering project. I see him placing each one in place.
He's probably handling them about 11 times, 7 to 11 times he places his hand on each rock before it's taken from its natural state and put into cement in the castle.
I asked Jim one day, do you have a story about each one of those stones? And he goes, most of them. Because he really thought about it. He thinks about everything that he's doing. He's not just throwing rocks together. He's just not.
It's functional art. People use it, people climb on it, people have weddings in it, and it is a true art form. It's somewhat different, but I consider myself an artist in building the castle. And in the most recent high point is this chimney here that ain't really a tower, but it's a chimney. Oh yeah, the dragon. Here's a pretty good view of the dragon. The nose is a chimney, the two nostrils. The mouth is a propane burner. The lower jaw hinges. It's 7 foot long. And it's made out of discarded stainless steel hospital trays from the kitchen of St. Mary Corn Hospital in Pueblo. They're throwaway junk and my treasure, recycling. There's 4,200 pop rivets holding the scales onto the metal frame.
Jim's lifelong experience as a welder has been used at every stage of construction, giving the whole thing an air of authenticity.
In 1 year, I did the sphere on the round tower. I did that. That's going to be all tempered glass mirrors and an orbital generator whenever I get the money for the mirrors. And it'll be like the world's biggest disco ball, reflecting colored light all over the place. In 1978, I built the step buttress, the one with all the steps on it. I remember that date. And at the top of this square tower, that come along over about a period of probably 12 years working on that. And it just went on and on like that over the years. And for the last 10 years, I've been out in front starting the big wall, the gatehouse, the tunnel dungeon basement, the northeast corner tower.
Jim has even built a grand castle doorway paired with a fully functioning drawbridge.
That stained glass window was done by an artist friend of mine, a guy named Jack Vidito. And I installed all of them, but him and his artist friends actually did the stained glass. And it's a theme window of different things in Colorado. The four seasons. It's got a ghost, the castle ghost, and a lot of different things like that in it.
Bishop's Castle is large enough to accommodate a royal family and entourage, but despite its appearance, it is not habitable. It was designed for pleasure and to entertain tourists.
Here we have the memorial windows as a fundraiser for castle building materials. They got different themes, what people liked in the memorials, the hobbies of their passed away loved ones. Now these three windows over here was from a lady from the Panhandle of Oklahoma who donated them windows, and I got up on a ladder from the outside and put the windows in where they went. And it was a donation, so I'm real happy about that. This I call the third level Castle Hall. Here's where we have our weddings, charitable fundraisers, dances, any major events right here. We have all-night parties at times. And then over the years I had a big rack that was a scaffold rack, and it was in the front. And to build the wrought iron roof trusses. And where the rock work is now, there's a wrought iron truss buried in the rock that was the very first truss. And I assembled that in a snowstorm with my wife Phoebe taking pictures of that. I don't know what happened to the pictures, she's got them somewhere. But then I progressed this way, and once I had a couple of them up, then it was easy to do, but it was real tedious, the very first one, because no crane and no help. And it just progressed like that over the years. I'm gonna get everything started so my kids and grandkids could take over when I'm not around anymore or when I'm dead and gone.
When questions about children come up, however, the Bishop family memories darken.
If he had stopped, it probably would have killed him.
Back in 1988, we were doing real well. We had our son Daniel, Valerie, and Roy. There's 3 kids in the family. Roy was just a little over 4 years old, and he would take people up and down the tower. Mother's Day weekend, there was a big windstorm, and the wind uprooted a tree over there by the mailbox on the other side of the highway. The tree was laying down. And my son Danny was 15 at the time.
One of the things that I took on that would have been my part in helping was cutting firewood. When I was 13, I had gotten a chainsaw, and I was out cutting up a wind-blown tree, and my brother went everywhere with me.
And the tree was uprooted, the roots are up, and there's a hole. And the roots are like rubber bands because it was topsoil. And apparently Roy got down under the roots and was digging.
In the unfortunate events that unfolded, the stump of the tree that I was cutting down crushed him in the hole he was playing in.
He was in the position of putting the roof on at the time that it happened. And it's a good thing he put a roof on, because he cried streams of, it just, like watching rain on the roof fall down. And he built a roof when he was in his first year of mourning of Roy. It gave him more determination.
He took it real hard. When Roy passed away, it took a lot about him. It just left a big hole in him. But that never stopped him. I don't think that there's ever been one moment that he would say, I'm not going to continue on it, because this has been his dream, and that's what he's living.
And I know it was largely my fault for just being push with the castle, and I should have been right there with him, And it's just really tough.
There's that little voice in the back of my head that always played the little tune that, if you would have only done this or that. But I've always known it was an accident, and probably the thing that was hardest to deal with in it is that there wasn't anybody to blame.
I used to call this tower here the Oval Office, making fun of the White House. But Roy would tour people up and down it, so we changed the name to Roy's Tower.
Between 20 and 30,000 tourists make an annual pilgrimage to this area of Colorado, and Bishop's Castle is often part of the tour. The master of the castle considers it an honor to reveal to stunned crowds the techniques he used or discuss the castle's history. He's not at all shy about asserting his skill.
People love the castle. People are inspired by the castle. People are amazed by the castle. People are in awe. Some people don't believe it. They they argue with me that he built it all himself, that is physically impossible. And I say, obviously not. Obviously not physically impossible, because guess what? I watched it happen, as well as everybody else. People have been coming here since the beginning. I talked to people that have come in here, since he was digging the 15 feet into bedrock so he could start, and just watching it all go up. And, people called him crazy from the beginning. He would tell people he's building a castle, and people like, okay, whatever. And even if they did believe that he could build a castle, it wasn't a 160-foot castle with a drawbridge and a wall and a dungeon and an elevator and an escalator and a dragon that breathes fire.
Lately, people visiting the castle, I think there's about 100,000 people a year parking on the highway shoulder and walking in. People are coming from all over the world. There's people that don't even know English, exchange students. People are coming from everywhere. Every state in the Union, a lot of people.
The Bishop family subsidizes part of their costs by a souvenir shop run by a family friend that has something for everyone.
Jim owns the building, and she rents out the building, and so it's her business. And then the way that that works out is that she gives like a rent, and then he also gets a portion of the profits as a donation. Depending upon the day, certain things sell more than others, and it also depends on the age group. Children really, really love rocks. They really love the rocks, and they really love the crystals. Well, honestly, everybody likes the rocks. Whereas the older generation will buy the video or photos or T-shirts, souvenir kind of memorabilia. Bikers come in here a lot because this is a really great ride, and the dudes usually buy rings, which is really funny. That when we have a lot of bikers, we sell mostly rings and jewelry and things like that. So it really just depends on the day as to how much of what we sell. We get people from all over the world here, and it depends on if they heard about it or not before they got to Colorado, but most of them actually have, depending upon where they come from. A lot of people have seen it on television, or somebody that they talked to was really adamant about how if they were in Colorado, they have to come see the castle because it's so cool.
There's a school that comes every year that, I don't know if they're from Texas or just where they're from, but they're archaeologists, and they study rocks. And they're here. And then there's a group called the Longhorn Rangers. It's not a school, but they're the kids that come on a camping trip from Texas in a bus. And there's all kinds of school groups on outings come up here, and they have graduation photo shoots. There's all kinds of involvement here.
The idea that there is national forest on 3 sides of it kind of protects it. It sets it off into like a national park kind of atmosphere. And if the mountain ever become a national park, protected by the laws of the land we live in so that the property is set aside, it would seem natural to me that protection would transfer onto that property. I could honestly see a day where if the family were no longer around to take care of it, where it would just become part of the park that it's in, the national forest that it is, and return to the people, which is really who it was built for.
Jim Bishop's castle is now known worldwide. Visitors come from as far away as Russia, Belgium, and Japan to satisfy their curiosity and touch the walls of this fortress. And this does not surprise Jim's wife one bit. For her, there is only one way to fully appreciate the magnitude of her husband's work.
You know, you walk around that road and you look at that thing staring down at you and think, oh, there isn't a picture, there's not a video, there is no kind of media that does that building justice. You have to see it to believe it.
And even for myself, when I see it, it's hard to wrap this thing around your head to think that this place, all of this has been built by one man. All those columns, all that ironwork. Well, who done that? Jim did it. Who put that rock together? Jim did it. Who built that bench? Jim did it. Who cut the lumber for this? Jim did it. So for that reason, it makes him a real unique man as far as I'm concerned.
You know, I think most people tend to like Bishop's Castle because of its uniqueness, and I think also because of the I mean, really just the labor that Jim has put into this over the last 40-some years. I mean, I was born in 1969. I think that's when he started on it. So he's been working on it for like 44 years or so.
There's no limit to what a person can do if you just do it. The only limit would be money and all that sort of thing, but you can do things without money. This is proof of that.
It gives you a vision, you know, of what one man can do in a lifetime. And he's doing it part-time. So, you know, I mean, if he didn't have to make a living, you know, like, you know, and support his family, you know, that he's been with all these years, okay? I mean, he could have, you know, built it, you know, a whole bunch more. He's a castle builder, but he's more than that.
You know, he thrives on other people's donation, but this is a donation from him to the world. This is a donation from him to the people of the world. Anybody can come up here and see it. Anybody can come up here and be inspired. Anybody can build a castle, whatever that means to you. It's truly his story to me is a true story of inspiration. The fact that just that kind of commitment. I don't know any other human being that has that kind of commitment to his passion.
The life lesson that I've gotten out of it is there's really nothing you can't do if you set your mind to it and are willing to put the effort into working at it. There's nothing we can't accomplish. One man, one person by himself can't accomplish if he has the drive and the determination and, you know, the selflessness to put into it.
I think the castle has a very bright future. A very bright future. I'm in good shape. I might be alive long enough to see it, even get a lot more done. I want to see how long I can live, what I can build with my hands. When I'm dead, I'm done, so I don't want to be done anytime soon.